Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, today I'm giving 3 different tours of the different food forests. Now we're up in our 3rd food forest right now, and it starts right up next to the road. It comes close to the 2nd food forest, which I just got done doing a video on, and before that the 1st food forest. So, all right. So what's different? The 1st food forest, we use cardboard, sheep mulching, lots and lots of wood chips, letting the ground cover grow, only cutting it like twice a season to really start getting the soil to start developing through soil succession. And we did companion planting. We planted lots of different garlic, chives, horseradish, comfrey, chamomile, calendula, and lupine, and I can't think of the rest right now, but we did lots of companion plants around them. We did do some of the similar things over in the 2nd food forest. However, I used swales to really build this system. And again, we did the companion planting, and each one of these videos I talk about some of the mistakes that I make along the way. So there's more work to be done over here in the 3rd food forest, and last fall and this spring is when I've been spending a lot of time working in this area. So recently I posted a video about transplanting some of these grapevines. I pruned them off. They came from the 2nd food forest right over there where that big mess is. And they're starting to leaf out right now, just a couple of days after transplanting these. So these are sheep mulched. All right, so I guess I should say, what's the big difference over here in the 3rd food forest? So this looked like 12 years ago, it looked like that forest over there, except there are all tons of ash trees, huge grapevines, lots of poison ivy, and stone walls. So what did we do? We dug big trenches. We took all the trees, the tops, some of the logs that were decent for burning, I cut those up, but the root balls, the branches, the leaves, everything got buried in big trenches, and we covered them up with the gravel material that we excavated out of the trenches. A lot of the topsoil went right into the ground because it had nothing but grapevine and poison ivy just blanketing the whole area. So all of that organic material, instead of putting it into brush piles, we dug big holes, buried it, and over the next year, to probably almost 2 years, there were little sinkholes. This is when I really was learning about hugelkultur pits. So hugelkultur is when we take earth, ground, soil, and cover woody material that decomposes over time and really adds a lot of carbon to the soil that's there. And it brings in lots of beneficial microorganisms during the various phases of the breakdown of the woody material. Once I got all of this done, we put in shallow swale systems. Since these ones got deeper and deeper in the 2nd food forest as you came closer to where we are from the road, because we're going uphill in this direction. And this continues to go uphill up here. But off of this main swale that goes along the road that catches the runoff from the road, we put little swales going almost perpendicular, a little bit of a diagonal, almost like you'd see here this planting right here. And then we put in some perennial plants, a lot of what did we have here? We did some small fruit trees, but not a whole bunch. What we did do in between them, so we did the cover crop and lots of wood chips in here, and we did different trellises initially, and then we put in our garlic beds and our shallot beds, lots of compost we put up in here. And we let lots of the bird's foot trefoil, the clover, grow up in this area, and that really helped out an awful lot to building the soil. This was all bony gravel here 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. It's 2024 now. You know, at least 10 years ago, this was all bony gravel, and we built this up, and it got to be pretty beautiful, rich soil that we were successful in growing our garlic, our shallots, and other crops. We grew pumpkins and squashes and all different crops up in here in between some of the trees, plums, peaches, some apples and all, but not a lot. In our last video, I talked about it on both sides. So we have hybrid chestnuts along the road. We have the blue spruce trees there as well. We have tupellos along the road as well, or black gum trees. And then we get down to that side of the swale right here. We have English oaks, pecans, butternut, heartnut, maples, honey locust, and catawba trees. On this side we have some honey locusts. We have some pecans, a couple of nut trees in here, but mostly flowering crab apples and flowering pear trees right on this side. This I put in the mound, I shouldn't have, and of course it's going to start raining now. So we went over the grapevines here that I transplanted from the second food forest. These are the service berries that I transplanted from the second food forest. Most of these came from either we're in the third food forest or we're in this first or second in the second food forest rather. So here we have a peach tree here. This is one of the ones we grew from seed. We have a couple of plums along in here. We got red buds, one apple, 1, 2, 3 apples here, a red bud, couple of apples, a persimmons, another apple, a red bud here, an apple here. I think that's one of our female persimmons here. She produces small fruit, so she may not have gotten fertilized by a male. And then we have an apple, a pear, a cherry, a plum, 2 plums next to each other. I'm not sure what that one is. One of our evergreens here, another apple, a plum. Down at the end down there we have a red bud, another apple, persimmons, an apple, a peach, another apple. You can see I like lots of apples here. Another one of our peaches, plum, another evergreen, and an apple. This persimmons, this one got wiped out in their first food forest, so I don't know that it's going to come back. We're going to give it a season. I believe that this is a cherry here, another cherry, a red bud, and a service berry rather. Another apple, and then we have the honey locust and the various, and that's an apple there, a couple pawpaws planted there, an English walnut, and again the flowering crab apples, and I can't remember, in honey locusts. And this is pond 1 up here, and we'll go over ponds in another video and all. And some flowering crab apples up there, and those are just more of the similar trees. And so this whole area was all hugelkultur pits, which are just big excavations dug out with an excavator, putting all the woody material, the plant material, even the soil, because it was just loaded with poison ivy and grapevines, and we get massive grapevines here, and all of the dead ash trees and the damaged other trees were buried in here. Then we did some crops in between some of the trees that we had in this area, and that worked out pretty well. Growing garlic, growing shallots, growing pumpkins, growing squash, growing potatoes. Each season we would rotate what we would grow up in here, and lots of wood chips put up on top of this, but not nearly as much as in the first food forest. This is predominantly hugelkultur, under the earth pit. Hugelkultur pits is what I call it. And now what are we going to do next? One of the next things we're going to do, I just have to do a little more smoothing out here, and then pretty soon I got to get the cover crop seed down in here. I'm not going to have the chance to do all the mulching around each one of the trees, but we'll get the cover crop in, and that'll be a whole mixture of seeds, and we'll be going over that in the video coming up. And we'll also be putting in some different clovers besides the clovers that come into the cover crop. But clovers will be going all in the other areas. Over to the side over there, I didn't go over it. There are a couple of walnut trees over there in the tree tubes, and that's all Jerusalem artichokes over there as well. So hopefully the camera's worked out here in the rain here. So that's the third food forest. And again, each time we do these, we're learning, and we're learning. Soil is the most, soil and water are so important. Getting your roads established, getting whatever utilities you need to get in on your property and all. But when you're building the food forest and all, yes, do you want to incorporate all the 7 layers and all for the various food forests and all? Yes, and we'll be doing that again a little bit differently. So I don't have the vining species here, but there will be the herbaceous layers, but they won't go in. We'll have the herbaceous layers here ultimately in the future, and we'll have bush species up here again. But until we get the soil all to a more of a fungally dominated soil in this area, and all of the trees are doing well, then we'll do companion planting around the base of them with some of the other different layers of the food forest. Right now we're going to be covering the ground cover, the root zone, and we're going to be covering the herbaceous layers. Those are the companions we'll be putting in with the cover crops over time. We won't be putting bush species in until I can feel comfortable that the weeds aren't going to take over any of the bushes that we're going to be putting into this area. So I hope that all makes sense. I'm rushing myself here a little bit as well. So that's it for today's video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. And I hope this is helpful. So that's it. Take care and stay safe. Bye-bye now.